Hello, everybody. Welcome to Khanversations. I'm your host, Muqtedar Khan, and today I'm going to talk to you about two very serious and issues. One of them rather very tragic. I'm going to talk about essentially the crash of the Indian Air India's airliner, which was flying from Ahmedabad to Gatwick, London Gatwick Airport, and it has resulted in a large number of casualties. So I want to talk a little bit about that, express my condolences to the people who lost family members, and it's a tragedy. Not only did passengers die, but the plane actually crashed into a hostel, a dorm where students, I think, who study medicine were staying, and so you saw a lot of people there also die. So I will talk about that, and then I will also talk about the Israeli attack on Iran, which is going on at the moment. Even as we speak, Israeli jets have been bombing Iran. They've hit six targets in Tehran. They have caused a huge amount of damage, and the question is this going to trigger a significant war, and what's its impact going to be on the region, on global politics, and so on. But before I go any further, I would like you all, those of you who are here for the first time, to subscribe to the channel if you have not already done so. So subscribe to Conversations, like this video, share it with your socio-political network, and if you like to support our work, you can join the channel and become a member. One of the advantages of becoming a member is that you get to participate in Zoom conferences face to face with me, and you can share your feedback. And I have got some great ideas and feedback from participants in the past. So let's first talk about the crash of the Air India flight. There were 242 passengers and crew on it. There were 12 crew members and 230 passengers. Unfortunately, very sadly, 241 of them died in the crash, as both the engines simply turned off and the plane crashed shortly after taking off. One person, his name is Vishwash Kumar Ramesh, survived. He just walked away with minor injuries. Imagine what luck, and he's going to live with a tremendous guilt in the near future. He is the only person to have survived. He's a British national. There were about 169 Indian nationals and over 53 British nationals. There were some Canadian. I heard a Canadian dentist also passed away in the accident. There were some people from Portugal and other parts of the world. One very well known BJP politician, Mr. Vijay Rupani, who was the former chief minister of Gujarat, was also killed in this accident. The plane was a Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner, and it's going to raise a lot of issues. Apparently, the plane was about, if I'm not mistaken, 7 to 8 years old, and it had already been flying for about 40,000 hours of flying. It has already done. The Boeing issued a statement. Obviously, besides the condolences, they argued that the Dreamliner, the 787-8, was one of their best sellers. It has flown over 1 billion passengers worldwide. The jets have been around for more than a decade. And so this is the first crash of the 787 8 Dreamliner. So there are lots of issues that will be raised with regards to this crash. Was this about the structure of the plane and the design? But since the plane itself, this specific plane itself, has been flying for several years and has done thousands and thousands of flight hours. And then this particular model has also been flying all over the world, has not had a crash. So the idea that there's some fundamental flaw in the design probably is not a major reason. So then the question comes up, there are only two other possibilities. One is maintenance issues, and the other is about whether there was some attempt by a deliberate sabotage. Basically, those are the two other options out there. People from NTSB from the United States, the engines that the Boeing was using are G engines. So engineers from GE, engineers from Boeing, investigators from the NTSB, the United States National Transportation Board, have all gone to India to investigate this. Indian, obviously, the Indian government is also investigating that. So hopefully, shortly, we will know what really happened. They already have the black box of the plane, and for unlike in planes which crash into oceans, this was on land. There are about over 260, and there are different numbers being thrown around. 241 died on the plane, and then about additionally 25 plus people died where the plane crashed. And so far the count is over 260. I also read some accounts of 290, but I couldn't. I mean, that was on the social media, so I do not know entirely how reliable those medias are. So as the investigation proceeds, I'll keep an eye on it. It's. I hope it's an accident. There have been lots of complaints about the condition of the planes. The I was trying to get some more details on X, and I see a lot of people posting videos about how badly Air India planes were. At least the internal maintenance, air conditions not working, and things like that. But this has to be actually investigated by professionals and experts to really determine what was the cause for the crash, because apparently both the engines failed. Uh, and so, was it just some kind of a mechanical failure due to bad maintenance, or was it a deliberate sabotage? That is, I guess, the question that investigators will be pursuing. I will now talk about Israel's attack on Iran and its geopolitical implications. And at the end of it, I will be happy to address your questions and your comments if there are any. And then at this is at uh, 11 o'clock my time and 8:30 plus India time. So at midnight my time, I will redo this show in Hindi on my other channel, which is visible in India. And so, if you're welcome to join that channel too, if you have additional questions that you would like to ask, if I am not able to answer this. I like to keep the show to about 20 minutes of conversation, and then Q&A for another 15 to 20 minutes. So we will see how it produces. So uh, Israel has finally attacked. It came as a surprise in a way. It was a very smart strategic move because everybody was expecting Israel to attack after the Sunday meeting between Steve Witkoff, Donald Trump's negotiator in chief. He's Steve Witkoff is a friend of Donald Trump and his envoy to the Russia-Ukraine war and other critical dialogues. So he's the one who's negotiating with Hamas. He's the one who's negotiating with Russia. He's the one who is also negotiating with Iran. So they were scheduled to meet in Oman on Sunday. So even though the Donald Trump had announced and the U.S. administration had started withdrawing non-essential staff from various embassies in the region, especially families who didn't need to be there. The U.S. did not withdraw any of its troops. The U.S. has about 40,000 military people in the Middle East, in Iraq and the Gulf, etc. They did not withdraw any of them. And the US did not also send in additional troops. Apparently, there are only 2 destroyers and only 1 aircraft carrier in the region. So it's very clear the signal that the United States is sending is that it is not really engaging this. For several years, the conversation, at least in the United States, was that an attack, hi Ethan, an attack on Iran was not going to be very beneficial, especially if Israel did it on its own. It did not have the munitions necessary to destroy the underground facilities that Iran had. So if a successful attack had to be made on Iran, it had to be the U.S. Joining the attack with Israel. Otherwise, it would fail. But it was very clear that Donald Trump was not interested at the moment in attacking Iran at all. So the two options that seem to be on the table from Trump and US foreign policy was a negotiated settlement, a deal in which Iran stops nuclear enrichment and puts an end to its program, and all the sanctions against Iran would be lifted. They would be back to as it was in, say, 2017. So that was the deal that was going on. So the U.S. was basically either going to impose sanctions, much stricter sanctions, or they would have a deal with Iran. But Israel was determined to basically destroy any and all capabilities, nuclear capabilities, and not just nuclear capabilities. I was listening to Netanyahu's speech in which he thanked the United States, but he basically said that we are targeting the leadership, and so the leader, the major general who was the head of IRGC, uh, the Islamic Republican Guards, he was also killed in his house. So they targeted leaders from the Iranian military establishment. They hit scientists in their homes, and so they basically killed some civilians. And they targeted the nuclear facilities. There are 6 targets that they hit in Tehran city alone, and they also hit the the ballistic missile program. So basically, from a military point of view, the two threats that Israel saw from Iran was a potential nuclear weapon, and the second is uh, Iran's ballistic missile capability. The fact that it is able to make, apparently, they can make 50 ballistic missiles a month, and they have a stockpile of 2,000 ballistic missiles at the moment. That is one of the reasons why the US was withdrawing its troops. It was very interesting to see the statement that was made by Marco Rubio. The United States has basically said it's not part of this attack and has warned Iran not to retaliate against American targets in the region. Iran had threatened that if Israel would attack Iran, then they would attack American military bases, especially in Iraq with their proxies. And so it is very interesting. Let me see if I can actually share with you the comment or statement that was issued by Marco Rubio. Oh, no, this is not the statement that was issued by Marco Rubio. Here it is. So this is the statement. It's on the letter of the White House, which I find interesting. So, statement from Secretary of State Marco Rubio: tonight, Israel took unilateral action against Iran. So, the first sentence itself distances the Trump administration from Israeli action. Tonight, Israel took unilateral action against Iran. We are not involved in strikes against Iran, and our top priority is protecting American forces in the region. Israel advised us that they believe this action was necessary for its self defense. President Trump and the administration have taken all necessary steps to protect our forces and remain in close contact with our regional partners. Let me be clear, Iran should not target US interests or personnel. So, this is a very interesting statement. If you notice, there is no support for Israel in that statement. Nothing such as we stand with Israel, we uh, no claims that Israel has a right to kill people wherever and whenever it wants. No statements about Israel has a right to defend itself. This is how it is usually phrased. So it's very interesting. It's very clear that the Trump administration is not on board with what Israel is doing. And Netanyahu, who even as recently as on Monday, Donald Trump had told Netanyahu not to attack Iran and allow diplomacy to succeed. Now, the question is there are several questions. The most important one is how long will the attack continue? Netanyahu, in his statement, said it will go on for several days, as long as it takes. So, guess what? I don't know. Are they going to keep attacking Iran for a month? That's one thing. Number two is Iran going to retaliate fully? And what will be Iran's target? Will it just try to target Israel? There were already sirens in Israel right now happening as we speak. They are anticipating a barrage of missiles and drones from Iran. So is Iran just going to target Israel, or is Iran also going to target US soldiers who are a bit more vulnerable, especially in Iraq? Is And the big question is, Iran going to shut down the flow of oil? 20% of all oil flows to Hormuz. Iran can shut it down. Is it going to target ships like Houthis are doing, or will Houthis do that? And of course, the big question is, Iran going to attack US allies, and especially Bahrain and United Arab Emirates, who have signed the Abrahamic Accords with Israel? So is Iran going to create a mess in the region, a mess that will take oil prices up and have a debilitating impact on the energy market, on the economies of the region, on the security of the region? Apparently, last month, I think on April 17th, the Saudis had warned Iran that Israel was going to attack them if they did not agree for ending uranium enrichment. So the sticking point between the dialogues, if the meeting happens in Oman between Steve Witkoff and the Iranian foreign minister, then it would be the sixth meeting. And the thing is that there has been no progress in the past few meetings because the US has been demanding an end to entire complete end to the enrichment program. And the Iranians simply said no, that they want to have an enrichment program, even if it is only up to 3% purification. In order to be able to make a bomb, you need to have 97% purification, and you need to have a large volume of that. It's not just a little bit of uranium, which is apparently so far Iran has done about 400 kilos of uranium that has been enriched to about 60% purity. That's not enough, and that's not pure enough to make a bomb. So Iran was actually quite far away from making a bomb. And it's not just enough to be able to make a bomb. You have to be able to make it small enough to be put on the tip of a missile. So we don't even know if Iran has the capacity for miniaturizing the bomb. We also don't know whether Iran has the capacity to weaponize a ballistic missile and to be able to launch the nuclear weapon, and so on and so forth. So there are a lot of these questions about Iran's capability. It is very clear that Iran does not have an effective air defense system, which was destroyed by Israel last year when it retaliated to Iran's attacks on Israel. So, so Israeli jets have been bombing Iran with impunity, with no loss of Israeli jets. Iran did scramble some of its fighter planes, and we will see. So the thing is that we are now waiting to see how Iran responds. Uh, it is general opinion that no matter how much Israel bombs Iran, it's not going to be able to destroy. It can delay Iran's progress towards nuclear capability. And there was also this particular statement issued yesterday by the United Nations saying Iran is in breach of its commitments to IAEA. It is kind of ridiculous, you know. Israel is in possession of nuclear weapons, which it is not supposed to have. And Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon, but it has been suffering from sanctions, etc., and has been isolated from the world for so many years, for literally for decades, for aspiring for a program which Israel also got it. Israel has nuclear weapons since 1973. But anyway, we will see what happens, how Iran responds, how wide scope this war could become. And if Israel intends to keep bombing Iran for several days, then this is going to become a war. I mean, maybe Iran can not respond to one attack or two attacks, but if Israel is going to attack every day, then you will see not only will Iran be responding, but so will its proxies, Hezbollah, Houthis, and we will see in some of the militias, the Shia militias inside Iraq itself. So, question is, what targets? And then the bigger question: what will the international community do? So far, there has been no support for Israel from anybody. Uh, the U.S. is obviously not supporting this. They are distancing themselves from it. But if Iran attacks, the next question is: will the U.S. actually step up and defend Iran? Last time when Israel, last time when Iran attacked Israel in October and April of 2024, the US, UK, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and others all scrambled jets to defend Israel. So the question now is, will all of these countries again come forward to defend Israel when Iran retaliates? And also the big question, what are Russia and China going to do? Are they going to just keep quiet like they did last time? Or are they going to provide some kind of material support or even diplomatic support to Iran? All of that will unfold, I guess, in the next few hours. But so far, the international reaction has not been anything serious. In the next week, there was a conference that is being held in New York, organized by Saudi Arabia and France at the United Nations to essentially recognize the Palestinian state. But the US put a lot of pressure on these countries, in fact, threatened them, etc. And so they then reduced their goals from recognizing Palestine to taking steps towards recognition of the Palestinian state. So basically, they killed their own conference under pressure from the US. But the question now is, will that conference, which will happen in a couple of days in New York, lead to any serious condemnation of Israel? Because this is essentially a violation of international law. What Iran is doing, Israel is doing, is attacking a sovereign country in violation of UN charter. Iran was not threatening Israel. There was no imminent threat for this to be a preemptive attack. On top of that, there is a G7 summit starting this weekend, and then there is Donald Trump's military march day after tomorrow. So there's a lot of things happening here, and of course the violence in Los Angeles, which are getting greater attention from the president Trump. So this an additional crisis. We are living in a world full of crisis. It's unbelievable how there is a crisis after crisis. So anyway, I'm going to be obviously keeping an eye on all of these issues. I will try to again come back in less than 12 hours and do another live show with you guys about essentially the Iran-Israel war, as to what's happening, give you an update and give you some of my thoughts. And I will also, if there is some investigative results coming out of the Ahmedabad crisis, once it becomes clear that it's not a sabotage, then it's a human tragedy. But I will probably stop talking about it, because it's a crash, and there are steps that need to be taken. But until we know that it's not a sabotage, I would like to keep an eye on what's happening with that airliner. Once again, my sincere condolences to the family members of those who lost their lives. Many, we can never recover from these kind of tragedies. So anyway, that's my presentation for today, and now I'll be happy to take your questions and your comments. Yes, Prakash, it is very sad. Ethan Grover, hey, Dr. Khan. Ethan, congratulations. Ethan is my student. He started working today. He works at the Legislative Assembly of the state of Delaware. So congratulations to Ethan on your new job. Pravan, yes, that one passenger surviving is extremely eerie, like, can you imagine? And he was able to walk out from the emergency gate. And of course, he's right now in the hospital, but they say that he's not critical, so he will be released soon. Yes, Naveed, condolences to Kamal Sharma. Please also provide information about Project Pelican. Okay, my heart goes out to the family. Saxena Saab, definitely. Gautam, we should have done to Pak what Israel seems to have done last night to Iran all those years ago when they were working on their nuclear program. Missed the bus. Well, they could have done this last month, Gautam. One phone call and Operation Sindoor was put on a pause. And the only reason why Israel is able to do what it does is because it has full backing of the United States. So much of weapons and ammunition were transferred to Israel in the past few months, even after Trump became president, and billions of dollars, more than $30 billion, have been sent to Israel in the past year and a half. And so Israel is able to do, because the US provides the Iron Dome to protect it. And when Israel is attacked, US jets, US missiles, US Navy, all of that is out there. And as you realize, with Operation Sindoor, nobody came to India's help. Absolutely nobody. So you can keep dreaming about India and Israel for some people who think that, but that is not exactly what is possible. In fact, I was reading only today that Putin has invited Pakistan to join BRICS. So Russia has suddenly become a big sponsor of Pakistan. So all the superpowers in the world, China, Russia, and the US, are praising Pakistan. Yesterday, I did a whole show about how the US General Kurilla called Pakistan a phenomenal partner. So with all that kind of backing that Pakistan has, unlike Iran, which is completely isolated, India can't be doing what Israel does. Plus, as you know, that Pakistan is also capable of striking back. It shot down three of India's fighters, including Rafale fighters. Avatar speculates that Raisi's visit to Pakistan was to obtain nuclear bombs or material. I'm not sure. Those things are, I think that the Pakistani nuclear weapons, etc., are closely monitored by US intelligence. And so, if there's any transfer of any kind, Pakistan will find itself in deep trouble with the US. The chances of Pakistan proliferating to Iran are much lower, but the chances are that it might help Saudi Arabia. That is where the concern is for a lot of people. Uh, good answer, Gautam. Yes, exactly. Rubio is also NSA. So that statement on the White House letterhead was in his capacity as national security advisor. Good job. Uh, uh, Mark, well, let us see what comes out of the investigation. And we will see what happens, whether it was a sabotage or whether it was a maintenance failure. And then Boeing has been having a bad time. So there's also going to be a lot of speculation. Two things have happened. Boeing's stocks has started crashing, and oil has gone up by 12%. The price of oil has gone up by 12%. And if it remains that high, many developing countries which are just about to have a positive economy or a positive quarter could go into recession as a result of this war. Uh, That's a good question, Saxena, with Iran. And Iran could have become a very powerful and rich country without the US sanctions since 1980s. I think one of the biggest mistakes that Iran made was trying to export its Islamic revolution. First, they tried to export an anti-West revolution to the world after 1979, and then they failed it. Then they tried to send an Islamic revolution, export it in the Arab world, in the Muslim world. And so then the Arabs retaliated by the Iraq-Iran war, which lasted for about 10 years, which weakened Iran significantly. And then they did stupid things like issue a fatwa against Salman Rushdie, and which triggered sanctions, and then they threatened to destroy Israel. Which again basically gave a justification. Iran's threats to Israel became a justification for Israel to basically put a pause on the two-state solution and get a lot of support from the US. And then, of course, Iran has targeted US itself. They took US hostages for about a year in the US embassy in Iran after the revolution. Then, in Beirut, over 250 US Marines were killed. And then there were lots of the Iranians have killed literally hundreds and hundreds of Americans over the years. So Iran has become. I mean, there's a lot of hatred and anger for Iran. I was looking at Lindsey Graham, the senator from South Carolina. He was like praying for Israel, and there are a lot of Americans who here destroy. For those of you from India who are interested in the statement that General Kurilla made, if you look at his testimony, the whole testimony was about how are we prepared to defend Israel if Israel attacks Iran. So the whole job of the US is to defend Israel. So in fact, he said very clearly that he has a plan which is submitted to President Trump on attacking Iran. And also he says we have all our resources in place to protect Israel from Iran. So so basically, Iran is a country which is economically not even a $1 trillion economy. The United States defense budget is bigger than the entire economy of Iran. And on top of that, it wants to fight not just one major power, but two of the most powerful countries on earth, which is the US and Israel. Israel probably is in the top 5 countries now when it comes to military capabilities. I think after US, China, Russia, and India, I think Israel is more powerful than Britain or France or Pakistan and other countries. So it basically, Iran is not even in the top 20, in my opinion, when it comes to military power, and it wants to fight with the top two of the top five countries. So if you have foolish foreign policy ambitions, and on top of that, they made enemies with your neighbors. See, you cannot launch yourself on global agendas while all your neighbors are against you. So the US has bases all surrounding Iran because Bahrain and Qatar and UAE and Saudi Arabia, all of these countries are afraid of Iran. So I think Iran's foreign policy has not served Iran's interests, has not served Iran's people. It has served the ideological agenda of the Iranian Islamic Republic of Iran. Look, let us assume hypothetically that even if Iran succeeds in destroying Israel, so what? What does it do to Iran? Nothing. So some of these things are like ridiculous. Their agenda. I I have I've always been a big critique of Iran's foreign policy, especially their rhetorical stuff. Jitesh Shah, that's a very good question. They use support for Palestine as a legitimacy issue. Iran is not a see when a country is not democratic, then if you are democratic and you do what you promise your people to do, and you want to win elections, then you deliver good governance and keep winning. But when you can't deliver good governance, then you pursue ideological agenda, and that's what both Turkey and Iran have used support for Palestine as a way of legitimizing themselves at home. Adil Ghausuddin, plus two important factors are APAC lobby in the state, which is influential, plus Iranian diaspora, which at least 90% of them hate. Yeah, the Iranian diaspora, well, now there's a slight change. There are two kinds of Iranians in the US, at least. It's very easy and very simple. Those who go to the mosques and those who don't go to the mosques. So there are those who are completely anti-Islamic Republic, anti-Iran, to such an extent that they actually celebrate every time Israel attacks Iran. So they are like quasi Israeli lobby in many ways. These Iranians. And then now there's an emerging Shia religious community which is not anti-Iran or the anti-regime because of the connections between the ayatollahs. So the religious leaders in the US are answerable to religious leaders mostly in Iraq. So the main imams, especially the one, there are two brothers. One is in Michigan and one is in California, and their their religious, I guess, superiors are in Iraq, in Najaf. So nevertheless, they are not as so the religious Shias are not as anti-Iran as secular Iranians are, and yes, they support. And of course, the APAC lobby has a lot of money, and it's not just APAC, but there is also the Christian Zionist lobby, which is also very powerful, which probably tonight will raise a couple of $1 billion to send to Israel. So yes, because they hope that if Israel commits a genocide, then Jesus Christ is going to be so happy that Israel has killed everybody in that area who are not Jews or Christians, that he's going to come back to earth. So there's all of this end of times narrative, biblical narrative, which the word Armageddon and all of that is genocidal. So Israel is expected to commit a genocide so that Jesus can come back to earth. I don't know why some Indians are so obsessed about thinking that the only reason why the US is interested in Iran is in Pakistan is because of the Iran connection. I don't think so at all. The US is quite capable of dealing, if it wants, directly with Iran without any help from Pakistan. It has a lot of support from the Arab countries. It has bases in Manama, in Bahrain, in Saudi Arabia, and other places. I think General Field Marshal Munir is being invited for this. There's no official confirmation. There's a lot of chatter on on social media that he has been invited. I went and tried to look at a list of foreign heads of states and foreign leaders. There aren't any. There are hardly any foreigners who are coming for this march on 2014, which is a celebration, the 250th celebration of the establishment of the US military. Uh, this was prior to the War of Independence, and it's also Donald Trump's birthday. But they could have made an exception for Munir because he's also a military officer. So for military officers of other countries coming to this parade is possible. So I will not be surprised if there are some. Obviously, Israeli generals are not going to come; they are busy with a war. But say Argentinian, Hungarian military officers and generals, some of the NATO officers, if they are invited, we'll see. It seems that many Republicans also are not showing up for this parade. Americans don't like this kind of rubbish. This is a third world kind of thing to do, to have these military parades. We don't have food for our people, but we have planes which we bought from foreign countries which we want to show you. So yeah, this is things that North Korea and China and India and others like to do. But the U.S. is not. It's waste. They're wasting hundreds of millions of dollars on this. Apparently, 6,000 troops, hundreds of planes, and are going to be used in this parade. The tanks and the armored vehicles which are coming could actually have a negative impact on the roads of Washington D.C. So generally, most Americans are not happy. In fact, the military is also not very happy with this idea. Uh, So I guess we have exhausted all questions and comments from people. So thank you for watching Conversation. If you've not already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, press the bell icon. Uh, and uh, and for those of you who like to watch in Hindi, I will be doing this show in Hindi and Urdu on my other channel, which is Conversations 2025. And you're welcome to watch that. I will start that in 23 minutes at 12 a.m. US time and 9:30 a.m. India time. So anyway, thank you everybody for watching Conversations, and I'll see you again sometime tomorrow in about 12 hours with more updates on the war in Iran, and also maybe tomorrow is the 13th. So I will around 14th, I will do a preview of the G7 summit, which is going to be taking place in Alberta, Canada. And there are some interesting developments with both Modi and MBS invited to this event. And so there's lots of interesting conversations going on in the Canadian public sphere. So I will share some of what the Canadians are talking about too. So take care. Bye, everybody.